Welcome to the Boardroom Sessions podcast. In these sessions, we meet the most amazing and interesting people. We learn about their passions, their business models, cool new technologies, and of course, their lessons on personal growth. I hope you enjoy. In this session, we meet back up with Dave Rhoads, CEO of Blue Street Capital. We talk about his phenomenal growth, company growth, and personal growth. We talk about our goal planning for 2020. We break down the whole process, and I hope you get a notepad and get ready because there's a lot, and I hope you enjoy. Dave Rhoads, welcome back to the Boardroom Sessions podcast.
Thanks, Mikey.
It's been almost 2 years. If you can believe it, it was April of 18 when we recorded the very first Boardroom Sessions podcast. So you have the honor and distinction of being the first ever Boardroom Sessions podcast interview.
Yeah.
And now you're the first ever second Boardroom Sessions interview.
That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
That's awesome.
So give us a little bit of what's been going on at Blue Street here over the last 2 years. I've seen nothing but success.
Yeah, we've had a tremendous success. The last 3 years, we've grown 30% plus year over year. 3 years running, 30% growth. Yeah, from all different segments of the business, which is really, really exciting. We have different revenue streams that are popping up, which is really exciting. And 20, I couldn't be more excited about it. Just seeing what we've accomplished in the last 3 years. Looking forward 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years is just, it's I get fired up.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're going to talk all about account planning here. That's what the podcast is about today. We're going to talk about goal setting, 2020 planning, how you go about picking your goals, and you and I have lots of conversations around this, and so we're going to get really deep into it in a little bit. But one of the key success factors I can't just walk past at Blue Street Capital is your 5-hour workday.
Right.
So that was a big thing when we talked about it early. I got a lot of feedback on the Boardroom Sessions about the 5-hour workday. A lot of people have asked questions about it. So give us an update. What's been going on?
Sure. 3.5 years in.
Yeah.
It's and we keep getting better. We're so hyper focused on efficiency, focus. Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, is almost similar to a Bible around here, and anything that comes up where it allows us to be more efficient, we'll dig into. We're doing quarterly book clubs where we'll feature usually in a book on efficiency. You know, for example, The One Thing. We love The One Thing. I don't know. I know you're ripping into that right now, but that book is gold. Like Gary Keller, Jay Papasan, it's really amazing.
So you do a lot of that. Continuous learning here from the team, right? Like you encourage your team to read, you pass books around, you guys talk about the concepts of the books, and you make it part of your leadership meetings, and you use some of the lessons that are there, and you ask your guys to go through the lessons as well. Yeah,
we do a lot of training around here. We've been implementing some life courses for the team. We had some younger people here, such as Goals 101, Willpower 101. We've been super focused on anything that's going to help people improve. Right now,
that's a key. That's got to be a key to your success, right? One of the keys, right?
We have amazing people, and we just want to keep getting better and work on how we can get better. So
that's great. Yeah. And then your 5-hour workday is obviously working, but not only that, you've actually had a book reach out to you and use you as one of their case studies in the book.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. Alex Pang, he wrote a book a couple years ago called Rest, which is about the shorter workday. And he has a new book coming out called Shorter, where he features, I think, 5 different companies and focuses on their shorter workday and how the business has improved since. And we're one of the companies in there. In fact, we're right in the intro, it says, Main Street, Huntington Beach, California. So
that's
cool.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. So it's coming to fruition. You're actually a pioneer in that, and it's working. I would say any company that's growing 30% year over year is doing something right.
It's exciting, right? We're in a good economy. That certainly helps too, but it's a little bit of everything. So.
Yeah, awesome. And so congratulations, Dave, on all of that, and a little background into what we're going to be talking about here and why we're talking about it. So Most of you do know Dave Rhoads and I are very tight buddies, and we are an accountability group together. We are also two hard charging workout buddies that very, very rarely let each other down. When we say we're going to do something, we do it. And one of our beach workouts, not too different from any other beach workout, we were talking about goal planning for 2020. And we decided to put on the Boardroom Sessions podcast here what we're doing and how we go about doing it. Because you and I have a very similar style of how our planning goes down and some key concepts, probably because we read a lot of the same stuff. And but they're a little nuanced, different. And
so all the stuff is so similar, right? It's just, people take different versions of it and make it their own. And that's what's cool about this process is take whatever you can from anybody and figure out what works for you, but just have a good system in place.
That's awesome. And so, selfishly, I like to hang out with people who have what I want. And you have a lot of things in your life, Dave. Balance, hard charger, family man, the drive to be a good guy as your core primary goal. And therefore, I want more of that. And so I thought you guys would dig this conversation here that we're going to have regarding how to go about setting your goals. So we're in 2 weeks now, T-minus a week and a half from New Year's 2020, right?
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot of people that are either like us ahead of the game thinking hard about what we're going to do for 2020, and there'll be some that'll think about it right at New Year's Eve and what they're going to do, and some they'll put a plan into place, and some people won't do anything. But you're probably not listening to this podcast anyways if you're one of those. But if you are, we wanted to share some thoughts on what we're doing. And Dave, you have a very systematic approach to this, and so I'm looking forward to diving right in. So let me just start with the overall eulogy goal, right? So why don't you tell everybody on the podcast here what your definition of the eulogy goal is?
Sure. I love this. This comes from Stephen Covey, right? Author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. His number one habit is begin with the end in mind, right? So let's start with the ultimate end, the eulogy, right? What do you want people to say at your funeral? What would your spouse say about you? What would your friends and family say about you? What would your community say about you? And if you go through that exercise, there's actually, Stephen Covey has a short YouTube that'll kind of walk you through it. I've done it numerous times. It's a pretty, you almost get teared up thinking about it because the same things come up over and over again of how you want people to view you at the end of your life. And I think if you start there, specific to planning out 20, you really go about setting different goals than you would if you didn't think about the ultimate end, right?
Sure. And there are a couple things happen in that conversation with yourself. You go through and realize, no spoiler alert here for everyone, but you're gonna die. And what it's going to be like when that happens, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, where did you get to? Not a fleeting thought on your deathbed, but now one in which you're in action. How do I want to be?
Yeah,
how do I want to live my life today?
Right. And that also comes into setting. You'll quickly find out you'll be setting more intrinsic versus extrinsic goals.
We'll
right?
dive into that in
Yeah.
a second here,
Yeah.
but let's talk about that eulogy goal. So, those are things that you want others to think of you, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
right.
and so that means that you led that life that people can describe and say about you, right?
Exactly.
So then you're going to take on the identity of that, and you're going to make that, and we're going to dive into that as well.
Yeah.
But let's go. People, people outside of you are saying these things about you in your eulogy. How do you get aligned with what people would say today, right? Don't you have to do some inspection there?
Well, you had mentioned the interviewing of people.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. If I want my wife to say that he was super supportive and super inspirational, better go ask her the question.
Right now, right? And what would you say? Am I moving or am I super inspirational?
I'd say maybe
do I have work to do?
I'd hit about 50%. I got work to do.
Right,
but that's
of course.
why
we all
planning,
do,
right?
We all do.
We're planning.
So professionally, I was told to do this professionally. Ask 3 things.
Yeah, I've heard this exercise.
3 things that other people put. If they're going to give you 3 words to describe Dave, I went out. My job was to interview people in my workplace and ask them 3 things about myself. And it was eye-opening, right? And they said some pretty nice things. And I was holding myself, I was a little harder on myself, I think, than either that or people were being very nice to me. I'm not sure, but they said some pretty nice things. And that became that helped me with my identity.
Did curious come up?
Yeah.
Did it?
Well, that I was a learner, right? That I'm quick,
time, yeah.
big
Yeah.
into learning and
Yeah.
big into figuring things out. Definitely did come up.
Yeah.
But it was attitude and energy and high energy and things of that nature that kept coming up regularly with me, right?
I remember our buddy Drew described you once as a Garibaldi.
As a Garibaldi fish, right? The goldfish that are always swimming around,
They'll
always
just
in motion.
stick their nose in anything and just very brave and very courageous. And
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty thoughtful.
Those are good things to be known, and so the exercise there is to find out what some other people think of you, and then you can have that conversation around the eulogy. But ultimately, you know what you want people to say, and so you're trying to act as if and trying to be.
Yeah, you might not. I think you do, but I think you got to spend the time to really think that through, and make your brain hurt a little bit, and come up with these things that. I haven't done it until recently, and it was pretty cool. And what I found across the board, whether it was my wife or my kids or my business. Is inspiration, right? I really want to do my best to try to inspire everybody to see the best in themselves. So that's a constant focus of mine, right? Because it's what I want, That's what I want at the end of my life.
Absolutely. And so it's also been called a soul goal. I've heard that been called
soul goal.
Right?
Yeah. Brian Johnson from this Optimize site, optimize.me it's pretty cool stuff, and a lot of where my stuff comes from, right? So yeah, soul goal, jumbo goal. What's your big goal, right? And then boiling that down into the big three categories. You have a different big three, or somewhat similar to me. Yep. But what's your jumbo? What's your soul goal and energy?
Right. Yep. It's I've heard of your mission statement, your primary purpose, right? Eric Thomas calls it your why. He says, my why wakes me up, right? Meaning that he gets up in the morning, every morning, without an alarm clock, because he's excited to go to battle today and be his why, right? Live out his ambition, which is very much like yours, oddly enough. Eric Thomas's goal is to inspire and to fire people up to be their best, right? To do their best. And so you have to find that overarching goal, right? So that's the one thing you want to do. That's long term. That's not necessarily going to be accomplished in 2020, but it's going to frame everything that you do and put some interim goals in place. And we'll break down the year, the month, the week, the day, right? And how we go about doing that kind of stuff to get to these actual goals that you can put down daily of what I want to do today.
Yeah, which is...
Go ahead.
No, well, that's, the one thing, guys, they call it vertical integration of goals. Right, so start at the top, jumbo, 10-year, 5-year, and boil it all the way down to what do I need to be doing today?
Right.
And
get into action to get towards those
vertical integration, right? Yeah.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned it earlier about intrinsic versus extrinsic goals, right? So as we start to put some of these things that we want in our life into place, and you start to identify them as goals. Let's talk about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic.
Yeah, well, one that jumps out right away that we talked about earlier is, extrinsic is six-pack selfie.
Yep.
Right? Intrinsic is I want to be fit to be useful, right? I want to be fit to be useful to the world. I want to be fit to be useful to my family. I want to be fit to be useful to my business. So
I want to be fit to help other people, right? I want to be attractive to a lifestyle that others are attracted to, right?
Yep, exactly. Stephen Covey breaks it down into primary. He has a book called Primary Greatness, right? So, primary greatness versus secondary. Secondary is the cars, the house, the money, which are all cool things and nice to have, but the primary greatness is what gifts do you want to give to the world? What's your purpose? What are you here for? Is your primary, and that's what, in my view, we should be focusing on our goals, right? What are we here to do? What are our gifts? How can we most powerfully serve others?
That's a great reminder. And then so when you find your eulogy and you find what you want people to say, that becomes your mission statement, right? You and I kind of have a code that we've adopted. Arete, right? And arete is a Greek word. It's Aristotle's word. It's been around for a long time, and it's the highest compliment, the highest characteristic that one can describe of another individual in the Greek society, right? Which is somebody who is dedicated to the way of life of growth, right?
Of growth, of being your best, being your highest self. Live with arete. You always want to be moving towards being your best.
Always on the journey to
Yep.
the best self,
Yeah.
right?
And you'll never be exonerated from the work of it, right? It's always, even when you get to the best, you hope that there's more to go, right? Because that's fun.
Arte. And you have to be in motion. And there's even a word called eudaimonia, which is the happiness that you get when you're on the journey to your best self.
Eudaimonia, good soul, right? Your good soul is the summum bonum, as they call it, right? The ultimate is to live with a good soul, live with your virtues, live with your values.
Right. And so consistently being on the way to get that is arete. Arete.
Sure. Yeah.
And so let's talk about the big three. Okay. So you have three areas of that you work on in your life. You break down your goals into three categories.
Yep.
I break mine down in three categories.
Right.
They're not indifferent. They're just different words, but to each of us, they represent the similar buckets, if you will,
right,
of places in our life where we're trying to put pen to paper and do inspection on things we can accomplish to get to our goal, ultimate goal, right?
Big three, it really kind of simplifies things. Stephen Covey had roles and goals in his goal setting process. Tony Robbins has categories of improvement, which can become endless sometimes, right? And it's a cool process to do it, but I like
gets complicated. It can get complicated.
The optimized site, it really get you into, let's focus on these three, right? And try to simplify things as much as possible.
And your three are?
Energy, work, love.
All right, let's break those down for a second.
Sure.
Energy, work, and love. What's energy to you? What things fall into the energy category?
Well, that's how eating, moving, breathing, sleeping.
Moving, breathing, sleeping.
The fundamentals kind of tie into everything, but from an energy standpoint, what are you doing eating wise? What are you doing sleeping wise? What are you doing working out wise? And then what do you need to stop doing? The stop doing was a big thing for me, right? Cutting out the wine or the beer from time to time for no reason, getting that away had a major impact in my life, right? That one thing I knew if I could take out would really improve all else in my life. So,
right.
Yeah.
And so breathing, this is a category A that I think we should just pass on a little bit.
Okay.
Because Dave and I will spend the rest of a good hour or two talking about working out, breathing, eating, sleeping, moving. That's where we spend most of our time together in. But it's critically important. And this time of year, most people get into this conversation, think, how can they be better? They want to eat less. They want to work out more. Mm-hmm. They want a Peloton, right? They want something to change their state and behavior. And there's a lot to that. And it's definitely one of the three categories you're going to have, right? And there's a lot to it. And I think all of those fundamentals come into play there. Breathing is a new one for us. I mean, it's one in the last 2 years, I think you and I've spent a lot of work doing.
It's in, it's
in yoga. It's in my yoga class. It's a major element, the pranayama breathing exercises that we do there, the Wim Hof breathing, the underwater breath holds and things that go on. That's becoming more and more important. I think most people don't get enough of that, right? Of walking outside and getting to a hardcore breath point, right?
Or noticing your breathing, right? Or, Patrick McDown's book on breathing, right? Nose breathe, when in all day, every day. In and out, in and out. It's just, what we become as humans is more mouth breathers over the... in which eludes stress, right?
Yeah.
If you're breathing in and out of your nose all day, every day, it really, you'll feel it instantly.
Yeah. They say in yoga, he who controls his mind or breath controls his mind, right? Controls your life. Win the breath, win the life, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's pretty good.
I
love that.
So that's energy, right? And you also, in energy, isn't there an element of what energy you're bringing into a room, positive, negative? Or is that how you create your energy in your world?
That could certainly be part of it. It's, I think in terms of the big three, it's what does that energy mean to you?
Right.
I know what it means to me. I like to think I know what it means to you. It might mean something totally different to somebody else. It's like, what's meaningful to you and what's going to fire you up energy-wise? What's going to give you the most reason to give your why, wake up in the morning and be excited about that.
And that's some of the fundamentals. That's the eat, breathe, sleep,
Yep.
move, right? Those are some of the fundamentals that have to happen there, and they fit well
Fundamentals
into that.
have to happen. And, and just talking with our team more about, all right, everybody's got these killer goals all lined up for 20, but if you're not dialed in on your fundamentals, you could very well achieve those goals, but you're going to have a heck of a lot better chance if you bring it energy-wise on a daily basis,
right.
or have a key focus on, what I need to be bringing to the table in order to achieve all this stuff.
And then your other two categories besides energy are work and love.
That's right. Yeah.
And work's fairly self-explanatory. That's finance. That's the adulting stuff, right? That's the company goals. That's the work goals. Mm-hmm. That's the where do you want to build this business?
Yeah.
How do you want to take it?
Right.
Things. Some of those extrinsic things can come into there.
Well, they can, right? But work, for example, for me is, I want to be a world-class leader. I want to be a world-class entrepreneur. But why, right? Because I feel like that's the way I can give my gifts to the world and what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. So work should very much be intrinsic. And so it's, what are you here to do? What's your hedgehog, right? What am I here to do? What am I really good at? What does the world need?
Right.
Right. And if you can find the middle of that, that's a home run.
Right. So you have to fold in your value system with your business, or you get the opportunity to here at Blue Street because you're Dave Rhoads and this is your company, and you get to incorporate that as a leader and fold some of the values that you have and lead your business that direction. Yeah. And so you can mold that into your work category.
Right.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
You can make that. And then love, right? So love, I would imagine, is family, is...
love in the traditional sense, right? Family, kids. Right. You have. Here's a good way a good way to describe it is you have love 0.0, right? Which is the most important one. Me, are you good with yourself? Are you your own best friend? Do you say nice things to yourself? So love 0.0. 1.0 is love of family, right? My wife, my kids, my extended family, anybody that I come in contact with on a regular basis. Then love 2.0 is just your day-to-day interactions, the grocery store clerk, going through the Starbucks line, just anybody that you have an opportunity.
I love that.
Yeah. And then finally 3.0 is just love of everything. Being
people
great.
You don't know. People you
being grateful, being connected to God or source or whoever, whatever your religious beliefs are, but just really, feeling that on a daily basis. And
I love that.
So, but for me, for love, it always kind of comes down. It's family, right? So that's what I spend a lot of time on. But again, what's your eulogy? What do you want your friends and family to say about you at the end of your life? And you get pretty clear pretty quick on what I need to be doing in 20.
So your big three are energy, work, and love, right?
Right.
And
but the key piece is, and this was a game changer for me, especially last year, is what's the one thing I need to do in each, and what's the one thing I need to not do.
Right.
What's the one think
one that's going to make an impact with an addition.
Usually the stop is way, way, way more powerful than the start.
Really?
Big time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what one thing can I add, and what one thing can I take away in each one of these categories to make a big impact?
Yeah, because then you do that every day. Right. And you do a little bit every day. End of the year, you're looking pretty good.
You're making some big impacts.
What if you do it for the next 20 years?
Right.
Next 40 years, it's really you end up in a different world.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have mine broken into 3 categories: body, mind, and spirit. Very similar. Right. All my energy and fundamentals are in the body category. Right. To get me in motion, to get the package moving. And then and my mindset is a lot around the analytical, right? Yeah. The material, the things that need to get done, how I'm going to get them, the things that are more easily put down on a action item list, right? A to-do list, things I can get after.
But your growth focus goes in there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm growth focused in the fact that I have a daily running task list, and I'm charging down that list and pushing those every day.
Yeah.
So that's all part of mind.
2 dominate list.
Yeah, that's right. And then spirit, believe it or not, I have to have as a mechanism in my life to bring me back, because I can let that mind, that drive, that ambition, that task list drive me crazy and never turn off if I don't have the ability to come back to spirit. What's it all about? What is this love? So your love category, I love that, because the way you broke that down is very much who I want to be and how I want to be in the world. And that's where I have to come back to spirit to get, right? Yeah. Things like yoga, meditation, understanding my breath, gratitude, right? Practices, connectedness, making sure I'm connected with people, close, near, far.
But
so
you have a set ritual, so you've operationalized that, and you make sure that happens every day.
That's the morning ritual.
You have a way that makes rubber meets the road.
Right, and that we'll talk about systems and programs here in a second.
It's the key piece, man.
Right.
It's where, as my old football coach used to always say, deeds, not words.
Yeah, right.
All the
Actions.
Time. Deeds, not words. Yeah.
That's right. We'll talk about it and the algorithm, right? Thought and the habit, but that's definitely fits in that category.
Yeah.
Before we get there, so we've each got 3 categories that we like to break down our goals into. There's this whole concept that comes back to the eulogy in what we call identity. Yeah. Right. So talk about how you build identity to these goals that you want to put down.
Yeah, this is actually pretty cool, and I've a lot of different motivational gurus have said this is the best way to put yourself in the right mindset in order to set these goals. So, for example, before you go and you set your 20 energy goal, what does the best version of you look like? Who is that? What does that look like? So, for example, if you're a triathlete, instead of saying, okay, 20, I'm a triathlete, get into the position of, I'm a world-class triathlete. I'm the best triathlete that ever lived, and whoever the name of that person is or what they look like. Or I'm a world-class Spartan athlete. My specific one is I love the water, I love the surf, I love to be in the ocean. So waterman is a moving word for me. So is it world-class waterman? Is it the best waterman? But when you put yourself in that identity, you go, okay, what are my energy goals for 20? You set some pretty cool stuff, right? And that's where you want to get your mindset in. So
I am a waterman, by the way, just so you know.
I know you are. You taught me that. But love, for example, right? I want to be, nothing to be more important to me than being best friends with my kid and with my adult kids, right? So that's a very big focus of mine. So Super Dad, Mr. Incredible, have fun with it, right. But have an identity for each of these categories. So when you go to set those goals, you're in that mode of being your best self, being the coolest thing you can be in that category.
Because you're acting as if you're that person already, for one.
Yeah.
You're identifying the characteristics, the actions. Yeah. What would that person do in this situation?
Right.
And using that as your goal, like your litmus test, who I want to be, right?
Yep.
And so you even have fun with this. You even take individuals that you've never met before, but we've seen or heard or read, or we have this iconic vision of who they really are, like Laird Hamilton, for example, right?
Guy's total icon. He's almost 16. He's supercharged in big ways.
Right. And so what would Laird do? What would Laird do in this situation? Right?
Yep. I ask myself that every morning, and you come up with different things. It's really quite amazing.
And it could be idealistic of that individual. We're not saying to model your life after somebody else, but you're just the ideal of that person, that identity.
Right, exactly.
Right? And then that identity becomes you, right? And there are a lot of exercises out there that people do, the I am statements that I do in my morning routine, put me in that state.
Right.
I am the following that I want to be, right?
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
It is.
Neuroplasticity, Dr. Joe Dispenza. It is law. It is actual physiological science. Go look it up.
Yeah.
You can change your brain.
Yeah.
You can change the wiring in your brain and your belief system. So you have to have the identity of what it is first that you want to be, and so you operate with that, right?
Yeah. One guy referred to it as the dream team. Who's your dream team? Who's your dream team? Energy Work Club. Come up with your dream team and then go to work on your goals, and you're gonna get
and become that person. And be that person today.
Yeah, work. I want to be the biggest producer that's ever been in my industry, right? Or whatever yours is. Or I want to be world class CEO. I want to be world class. You name it. I keep coming with world class. There's better terms than that, but it's like get into that identity. Go to work on your goals.
Right. I do it with a visualization, right? I actually visualize the mic in that state of being that I want to be, right?
Yeah.
Where would I be, right?
Your best self, right?
Right. And I picture me in that situation. And I picture the surroundings and the people and the reactions of being that individual on my best day, in my best place.
Right.
And I know what that means to me. And I can color it, and I can go through the coloring book and tell you what is there and what those things are that represent that to me. And if I wallow in that for a bit, I'm there.
Yeah.
I get there. I get there, and that's how I get to those. That's the visualization part of that identity. But you have to have a clear identity of where and how you want to be, right?
Yeah, and spend time on it, and keep spending time on it again and again. Your brain needs to hurt. This isn't rocket science, but it's a good idea to spend time on it. I said it to you earlier. It's amazing to me, and I sometimes I fall into this category more times than I like, but. A lot of guys in America, and well, gals too, spend more time on their fantasy football team than they do planning out their life. It's crazy. Social media, they spend way more time on social media than planning out their life. And you can see why. I mean, these big tech giants have invested trillions to make sure we stay on our phones, but geez, if you'd spend a fraction of the time that you do doing these, stuff that occupies your mind, it really come up with some good stuff.
Right. So you have that identity, you know where you're who you want to be, right? You build your dream team. So inspect your heroes, look for heroes in your life, people that you want to emulate. Build a version of your best self as one of those heroes, right? And have that visualization, right? And make it incorporated into the goals that you're putting down in your category. So for you, it's energy, work, and love. Right?
And but while you're setting those identities, right? So, eulogy, jumbo soul goals, right? Identity. So now what are the virtues? What are your values in each of those identities, and being super, super clear on those? So for example, for energy, some example virtues would be courage, discipline, focus, adventure, fun. You name it, but
hard charger,
right? What word or phrase inspires you for that category, and know exactly what those are,
and then be that, and then what's going to bring me to be that, right? How can I be that today?
Yeah. Right. What's the one thing I need to do today? What's the one thing I need to stop doing today?
Of course. And so here's where the rubber meets the road, and here's where you and I have read book after book after book and had friends to talk to these books about, and this is where people lose. They understand the theory. They're not in practice.
Right.
That's right.
Theory to practice.
Theory to practice. All right. Yeah. So this is walk it. This is stop talking and get busy. Right.
Yep.
And so systems and programs. You got to have a routine.
Yep.
I take routine and I moved it to ritual. A couple years ago.
Right.
So it means even more to me. A ritual is something that cannot be broken. It's sacred.
Yeah.
To me, it's my ritual.
Yeah.
And I've built a ritual habit and a tool set of doing this goal setting as of you, right? Yep. So let's talk about it. So 2020, let's use 2020 as the example here.
Sure.
Okay. We have these long-term eulogy goals, but you have the year here to build with right now.
Right.
And so as the listeners are getting prepared for theirs, we're getting into building a program.
Yeah.
So you start with that year and you work backwards.
Right.
Talk me through that.
Well, we talked about vertical integrations of goals, right? So we have, we have our jumbo or life goals, right? Which boil down to our 20 goals, which boil down to what do I need to be doing this quarter, which boils down to what do I need to be doing this month, this week, and then today, right? And to me, that starts with your morning ritual, your journaling. What are you doing to review this on a daily basis? How are you ensuring that you're moving towards this a little bit every day, just getting a little bit better every day?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And with one nuance, I put the goals out there.
Yeah.
Right. I put my goals clearly out there of what I want to accomplish in the year. Some of those goals that I put on my vision board, which is kind of my
Right.
metric for
Well, it's one of
my
the ways,
visualization
it's
tools.
one of the ways
it's one of the
you
tools.
put it the system. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's part of my routine
Yeah.
and ritual. But some of those are long term and never to be attained. They're a state of meaning of being, right? And ones that I will continue to go. But others are some. I could put a year category on it, right?
Yeah.
I want to accomplish this year, right?
Right.
What I do differently than what you described here a bit is I step back from the drawing the linear line from today till there.
Yeah.
And I get into action with a month, week, and day plan, right? So mine's 30 days. So I'll start at the beginning of the month and think, what are these high-level goals I can get to in all of these categories, body, mind, and spirit?
Yeah.
And how am I going to go about them this month?
Yeah.
Then on Sunday afternoon, I set the goals for the week, right? You and I are part of that. Your and my rituals have been integrated together in those weekly segments.
Yeah.
We review each week what we're going to do.
Right.
We talk about our workouts. We talk about our eating plans. We plan our fasts together, all that kind of fun stuff around that week. And then it's that day. We both run a Stephen Covey daily task list, prioritization of our goals. We integrate this into our work goals and to-do lists. And so there needs to be that linear routine, that algorithm, you call it.
The bookends, right? So you've bookended your life, you've bookended your year, and now you're talking about you bookend your weeks, right? You plan your week, you iterate on your week. You do the same thing with your day, right?
That's right.
You plan your day. At the end of the day, you're asking yourself, how did I do?
Right. And you're not hard on yourself, right? Is another thing to do, is to just adjust.
Yeah.
Right?
That's hard.
People like to beat themselves up and say, I've been a loser and this week has been terrible. I hear the language, right?
The shame's a tough one. You know, people, it's a tough one, right? So it's you may have done a loser thing, but you're not a loser.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it's about that inspection. I love the routine of setting my week. It frees me to go to sleep on Sunday night, knowing that my plan's in play for Monday morning when I hit the ground running, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I can inspect that at any given time and find out where I'm at. And I like it having 3 categories of body, mind, and spirit. Things fit better. It's tighter. It's not 20 things and it doesn't get daunting.
Right.
I can bust it on a list at any time and break out 3 things I can do today.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. We mentioned the vision board. That's a fun thing to do, to put things out there that you want to have happen.
Yep.
And we could have a long conversation about vision boards, but we won't today. But let's talk about accountability. So one of the key elements here I find is accountability. So I'm fortunate in my life to have you, Dave Rhoads, in my life because you hold me accountable for our workouts, right?
Yeah.
You've taught me what it's like to say yes for a workout on a text and make sure I'm there. Right?
Yeah.
It's not acceptable, and you're in my relationship, to not show for a workout.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we say 5:30 at this spot, middle of the dark, on a bike or on the beach or wherever it is, we're there. We're there. That's accountability.
There's no question marks.
Right?
Right.
And so if I set it in stone, we're there. So we have accountability.
Yeah.
Then when we talk about we're going to do a fast, for example, there's a calendar invite for the fast, a start and a stop.
Yep.
And if I accept, that's not, well, I'll make it if I can make it. That means I'm in.
Yeah.
So that's accountability. Right?
Accountability partners are key.
Right.
What did the SEALs had? Swim buddies.
Yeah.
Right. They had always somebody checking in on them. I think, being part of a community or having friends that hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do and hold you to that standard, it's important.
It's very important. Yeah. And from a business
what your dad
perspective,
used to say, and you're the average of your 5 closest friends.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the accountability goes to other goals as well, right? So you have a group called OptiBro.
Well, we just started it. So, I just finished a coaching program with Optimize.
Yep.
And out of that, a buddy of mine, Dan Keller, he came up with the term OptiBro. So now we're starting a big local
Brotherhood
Brotherhood, but
guys.
it'll probably it's not a guy group. If we get gals, we could build opted chick, opted gal.
Right.
You know, it's not a guy.
Opted person.
Yeah. But
Yep.
it's basically trying to get a community together, talking about these ideas we're talking about on a regular basis.
It's an accountability group, and we're going to set goals and get after it and grow. And I'm all in on that.
Yeah.
We have a vision crew, vision board group guys that would get around and we talk about each other's vision boards and we watch some woo-woo hippie stuff happen in our life. And it's pretty amazing what happened there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that stuff just works. And that helped me build this ritual routine that you described earlier. But I love your concept. We talk about this when we're out on our runs sometimes. You talk about the algorithm.
Right? Your habits. Set your habits on autopilot, right? Our willpower is finite. You can only say no to things so many times. You can only get yourself, well, let's take working out, for example. A buddy of mine, he runs the marketing for us here. He was starting a new workout program and he said, hey, I'm gonna work out 4 days a week. I'm like, God, that sounds hard to me. I'm going to work out 4 days a week. Why don't you just work out every day? Because then you've made the decision. You're done. It's like every morning he wakes up. Oh, is today
the day?
Going to be a day or not
maybe
be a day?
I can't today. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah. So work out every day, right? It's the old quote, 100% is easy, 99% is a bitch, right? 100% is easy, 99% is a bitch. For example, in marriage, a lot of people, you hear terms sometimes, well, it's a 50-50 deal. Marriage is a 50-50 deal. It's like, try to pick up a pen 50%. Try to pick up a pen 99%. You can't do it. It's too hard, right? Pick that pen up 100% of the time. It's like, boom, it's easy.
So if then, right? If I'm awake, then I work out. It's easier than
if I wake up I work out, and you've made the decision once for the rest of the year, you're done.
Right.
You don't have to generate willpower to go work out. You've already decided this is what I'm going to do every day.
Right.
And make it, what drives me nuts about the fitness community and the workout world is they make it as though you got to do this hardcore, 50-minute, 90-minute, hour and a half workout. And that's not accurate.
No, some is better than none is my mantra.
It's bullshit.
Some is better than none. If I can get a mini workout in and I don't have time for the full hour, you know what I can do in 5 minutes or 10 minutes is pretty amazing. If you get after it in a few minutes, it's better than if I did nothing.
Yep.
So some is better than none.
When you're developing a habit, make it so easy you can't miss it.
Right.
Right. And even if it's 60 seconds, make sure that you did it for that 60 seconds.
Right.
If you're feeling horrible, you're sick, you're hungover, whatever, just get that 60 seconds in so you can say, all right, I did it for that day.
That's right. And that's the algorithm. Then I'm going to do it, right?
If I wake up, then I work out.
That's right.
One I implemented last year was meditation. If I wake up, then I meditate. And sometimes I can only do it a minute, but I've hit that day and I got that habit going.
Right. So that's the key.
So, and you could think about one algorithm I've been playing with a lot that's actually really helped me is when I'm when I'm triggered or when I'm pissed off, I step back and ask myself, what would my best self be? What would my best self do?
Right. So back to the identity.
Yeah. If Lisa and I if we're, we're married, right? We run into some challenges from time to time, but when I'm in a bad state or when I'm triggered, what does the best version of myself act like? And you get really a total different outcome every time. So my algorithm is when I'm not in a good state, I step back, right? And I say, what would my best self be? It's hard to do. I can't do it all the time, but it's been pretty effective.
That's very effective.
Yeah.
And so let's last talk about the one big thing, right? So we've gotten back to we've kind of come a full circle in the conversation here of how we build these programs and systems in place.
Right.
Let's talk a bit about the one big thing, right? Because you and I you're a big fan of the book. I'm in the middle of the book.
Yeah.
I get the concept, and we're defining the concept here in the book. And tell us about your belief on how that's going to affect your 2020 planning.
Well, it's something that we talk about at Blue Street all the time is what is the one thing I need to be doing today? What's the one thing I need to be doing this year that will make things easier or make everything else not necessary? So what's the one thing I can do that would make everything else easier or in a lot of cases not have to do it at all? And, that Keller guy was just on a Tim Ferriss podcast and he talked about this and it's actually a really good listen. But he wakes up every day. His whole goal is to have his whole entire which plays into our 5-hour concept too. This guy tries to get his day done by 12 o'clock. So he's up, he's working out, he's done all of his one things in his categories by 12 o'clock. And he said the rest of the day is for trivial pursuits. The rest of the day is for whatever else I want to chase down.
Wow, he must be productive.
Well, I mean, he's built the largest franchise in the world, right? The Keller Williams. And so by asking himself that one question.
Right, the real estate firm. Right?
Yeah, and one other example he used that I thought was pretty cool is he uses it in every context. So his one context he uses, what is the one person, if I hire in my business, will make everything else easier or maybe not have to hire others, for example, right? When he comes home, he says, before he walks in and sees his wife, he goes, what's the one thing if I did it right when I walked in the house that would make the rest of the night easier or may not have to do everything else?
Right.
So it's a cool question to play with all the time. But I think as it plays into 20, what's the one thing, right, that I could do this year that will make all these goals way, way easier to hit?
Right. Have you decided what the answer might be on that?
Well, I know, I'm playing around with it. The sleep is huge, right? This is something I've largely ignored most of my life. But
part of the fundamentals.
This Aura ring has shined a spotlight on it. So I think, it's definitely a fundamental goal, right? And if I can nail the sleep thing a majority of the time, it'll give me it'll give me the energy to hit everything else.
Right.
So
mine is discipline. And when I say discipline, it's discipline to the fundamentals, right? Of what we're talking about here. And if I can stay the course and stay disciplined to these fundamentally vital goals for me, body, mind, and spirit, and stay in complete balance on the three-legged stool, everything else in my life will be better. Yeah. Everything will continue to be incremental growth oriented and better. Yeah. And discipline to me does not have a negative connotation. It does not have some daunting connotation, right? Discipline equals freedom. Jocko, right?
I love that.
Discipline equals freedom. And, Jocko Willenick, if everyone wants to listen to a couple of his podcasts, he'll break it down for you pretty quickly. And so, Dave, this is phenomenal. I'm hoping people get a good understanding of thinking about that eulogy, right? Framing the perspective from the beginning with the end in mind.
The ultimate end.
The ultimate end, right? Yeah. And I think it's important to point out, we don't have to plan our life on a long-term scale, right? It's right now. It's this moment. What can you do right now to be that person that you want to be?
That's the rubber hits the road right there.
That's it. Yep. Every day, all the way. How can I do that? Right?
Yep, exactly.
And if you set a plan in place and you have them broken into categories that are easily, remembered, easily bucketized for you, you put into a system and a program, build that identity of that individual you want to be, that person you want to be. Yep. Be that person. Yep. Be that person and find out what things I can do in my life to be that person today. Have accountability, have a system and a program. Yep. Get after it. 2020.
2020, let's go.
All right, Davey. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, Mike here. Hope you liked this boardroom session. Please check back to your future sessions as we're recording a new one every month. If you want to reach out, look for me on LinkedIn or send me a note at mike@sidepath.com. That's Mike at sidepath.com.